It's really important for owners to attend meetings when it's possible for them to do so. The decisions that are made really impact on everything that goes on at your building day to day.
Strata property necessarily involves collective decision making, and so your strata body actually does have a role in the way you live your life. It can pass a motion that you can't smoke on the common property. It can pass motions about where you park or where you do your laundry. All these sorts of things have an impact on the way people live. And if you want to make sure that those rules are being made responsibly and enforced responsibly, then participating at a meeting is the way you do that.
There are a few different types of meetings that owners should be aware of. At the annual general meeting, we are typically covering very similar topics each year, and there are a number of administrative matters that need to be addressed at every single AGM. So they follow usually the same pattern. For example, adopting the minutes of the previous general meeting, confirming the insurances or talking about varying them if that's needed. You'll talk about any contracts that have come up, so your strata management contract if it's due for renewal, or your building management contract and other matters like that. And certainly the biggest one that people are normally interested in at the AGM is the budget. The budget sets the levies for the year, so that's a big topic at each AGM.
The second type of meeting is an extraordinary general meeting or a special general meeting, and that is, as the name implies, for one-off issues, for something out of the blue. If you've run out of money, if there's been a need for sudden repairs that weren't budgeted for. So something quite unique.
And then there's your strata committee meetings, the ones that the strata committee hold to make their day-to-day decisions throughout the year.
A strata owner has obviously a right to attend the general meetings and to speak and to vote, provided they're financial and they've paid their levies. At a strata committee meeting, if you're not elected to the committee, you have a right to attend and to observe, but not to speak unless permitted by the chairperson or the meeting.
An agenda is always issued, usually a couple of weeks before the meeting. When you get that agenda, the best thing to do is have a read through it. And if you've got questions on anything that's in there, whether that's a question about your own understanding of what's on the agenda, or whether it's a question that you need answered in order to know how you would vote on that item on the agenda, definitely contact your strata manager beforehand and let them know what your questions are.
Traditionally, strata meetings have been held in person, both committee meetings and general meetings, sometimes at a building if the building has a proper facility for a meeting, but otherwise it might be at a strata manager's office, and sometimes for big meetings you might go to the council chambers or the local community hall or shopping centre. Increasingly, people are starting to use other electronic means for meetings, and governments have passed some laws to permit that to happen as a direct response of COVID-19.
It's much better if as many owners as possible do come along, and everybody involved understands that we're all busy people, but they typically only take, around about 2 hours, and we're only talking about once a year, so it's not a big time investment to really get a little bit involved in your building. If you're not going along to the meetings, then there might be a number of issues that are being addressed that you'll wish later that you knew more about. There might be special levies on the agenda that are being considered. There might be works going on in the apartment above you that it will impact you that you wouldn't otherwise know about. So it's really important that you get along and understand what's going on in your building day to day.
I think one of the things that people who own strata forget is that the owners' corporation of which they're a member has total control over the bricks and the mortar of their investment. It controls everything, and really all they control is the airspace inside their apartment. Now, if I owned a home and somebody else had total control over what happens to my home, how it's repaired, how it's kept, how it looks, how it's insured, then I would spend some time every year meeting with that person and making sure that everything was going okay. And I think that's the way strata owners need to think, that this is their property, but they don't control it. So having a good look at who is controlling it and how it's being done is vitally important. By attending a meeting, you get to say what you think and express your view and participate in the voting, but at the very least, I think people should come along and observe and see how things are happening.
So another reason to go along to your annual general meeting each year is to meet other owners. Meeting other owners can be really beneficial for lots of reasons. You just don't know who you might meet in those situations that might come in handy for you later if you're having an issue within your building or you're not sure who to contact. Making acquaintances with your fellow owners can be really beneficial. Another great reason to go along to meetings is that if you are interested in getting more involved at that annual general meeting every year, that's when the Strata committee is nominated. So that's your opportunity to put your hand up and say, yes, I'd like to get more involved on a day-to-day basis. So if somebody wants to have a point of view heard at a meeting, if it's something that's on the agenda, then you definitely should have the opportunity to speak in a meeting. When it's a smaller meeting, you've only got a handful of owners there, it's quite easy. The meetings are generally run very informally and you'll have plenty of opportunity to speak your mind. In very large meetings, sometimes that just isn't possible because of time constraints, or on video conferencing, it can be very difficult to manage a meeting where there are a lot of people trying to talk at once. So we have to take into account just the difficulties of actually running a successful and smooth meeting. If it's something that's not on the agenda or you're not sure if it's going to be covered, pop it in writing to your Strata manager beforehand. It will give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you've got, and it will make sure that your Strata manager is prepared for those extra questions that you might have. So when you're speaking at a meeting and you're trying to get your opinion across, I would say keep it reasonably brief. If you've got a lot of points to make, sometimes they can get a little bit lost. You really want to choose your main points that you think will have the biggest impact and stick to those and make your argument nicely and clearly. Ask questions, be curious, make sure that you're listening to other people's points of view as well, rather than just try to get your own point across. So you really want to be able to show that you're taking other people's opinions into account, and then they're more likely to listen to your opinions as well and have more of a free-flowing discussion.
My top 3 tips for somebody new to Strata that wants to become involved and to attend and to understand what's happening would first of all obviously be to attend. The second thing I would say is to be reasonable. People come to meetings sometimes very emotional about something, and other people mightn't feel that way. And the third thing I would say is don't expect too much too soon. Collective decision making is a complex thing, and decision making takes time.